Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of True Crime Time for Wednesday, June the 25th, 2025. And I'm Woody Overton.
I'm Cindy Overton.
And bringing you the news that you want to hear.
That's right.
All right. Maybe you don't. Well, I guess you do because you're all tuning in. And we appreciate that. And we love and appreciate each and every one of y'all. Thank you so much for liking and sharing and all that good podcaster shit. So the hashtag Justice for Bradley, y'all, the episode's coming out on Friday. Patreon.com makes you get it earlier, commercial free, and you gotta listen to this one. Voice from the grave on this one.
Goodness.
So I don't know, a lot of stuff. And of course, as always, hashtag Justice for Haley is coming. Hashtag Justice for Miss Barbara Blunt. And it's summertime and it's hot, Mama.
It is hot.
And going into the holiday week next week.
Oh my goodness.
4th of July.
Yeah.
Right?
Haven't even decorated.
Oh my God. you got some red, white, and blue rugs out.
Because you asked me to put some rugs out.
Yeah.
So that's what I had.
Okay.
I only have seasonal rugs like that.
Right. That's not true. I've seen other rugs. All right. Well, that being said, let's get down to true crime time for today. Wednesday, hump day.
I can't believe it's already Wednesday. It just goes by so fast.
It is going by fast. And you work all the time and comes around and flies out, right?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, all right. Do you want to start today? Or you want me to start?
Well, I know what that question means, Woodrow.
Well,
you start.
Well, then I'm gonna shock you and tell you start.
What?
Yep. What do you have for us?
Keep me guessing, huh?
Where are we going? What do we have?
We are going to Ohio, Tremont City, and we have some arson.
Nice.
I know. Anyway, these 12-year-old boys are charged with arson for not so very good reasons. On the evening of June 14th, around 8:20, a group of children in Tremont were playing with gasoline and fire in a neighborhood.
And
so during the activity, is how it's called, an activity, a 12-year-old boy poured gasoline on his younger brother.
Oh, Lord.
And ignited it. And it was what they were calling a dangerous game.
Yeah.
We were just playing a game. Let me put some gas on you. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's see how bad you burn.
So the Clark County Sheriff's Office and local police responded to the scene because a bystander happened to call 911. And
the kids running through the field screaming on fire.
Literally, his back was on fire. And that's literally what they reported. The victim was severely burned on their back. So the younger brother, the one that was set on fire, was transported to a burn center with 2nd and 3rd degree burns. And although those are very bad, they said they're not life-threatening. So unless, of course, they get infection and everything else.
I'm pretty sure I don't want any.
I don't want any type of burn.
I don't even want a sunburn.
So after confirming that the act was intentional, police arrested the 12-year-old older brother. And he has been detained at the juvenile detention center while the investigation continues. But I mean, there's not much.
I'm sure he didn't intend to kill him or whatever, but 12 years old, you can certainly be held culpable and even it's negligent or whatever. And I don't know.
Well, the lieutenant, Christopher Schultz, emphasized the deliberate nature of the incident.
You can't get much more deliberate than I'm throwing gas on you and then lighting it.
Yeah. So
it's not like lightning struck him and the gas can blew over and threw gas on his back and lit him up. It's just bad shit.
That is bad.
Bad shit. I'm glad our kids never did anything stupid like that.
Right.
Well, that was a effed up family.
Yeah.
And I'm about to bless you with one more. But we are going to Texas this time. Okay. So Harris County, which we know is around Houston, and their sheriff, Ed Gonzalez, announced on Saturday, June 21st, that some parents were taken into custody more than a year after they had responded to the death of an infant at a motel on Rancho Mission Drive in Houston way back in May of 2024.
Okay.
So the deputies get there and they find out the parents had been living at the hotel for over a year when they got the call about the baby Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
And baby Brooklyn was found unresponsive inside a dresser drawer, which is where she slept.
Okay.
So they investigated, and this is just horrible.
How old is this baby that's sleeping in a dresser?
I'm sorry, the baby's 4 months old. Can you imagine making your baby's drawer, the hotel room drawer, your baby's crib?
No.
All right. Well, let me tell you a lot more pain about this story. So when they were there and they find the unresponsive deceased Brooklyn, they also found meth in the room.
Surprise.
Right. And the grandmother said that the cops had found meth in the room before, and she said the police should have arrested the couple sooner following the baby's death, and said they had been living their lives like nothing ever happened since the cops came up and the baby was dead. She said they should have been charged with the drugs at the scene and held on those charges until homicide charges were ready.
Yeah.
And the grandmother, Simon, said she would like to see them spend the rest of their lives behind bars. And she also alleged that her granddaughter, Destiny, told her it wasn't the first time that the couple put Brooklyn in the dresser drawer, as they would shut her in there when they wanted alone time.
She's 4 months old.
I mean, if you want alone time, you're gonna go bang bang. It's a 4-month-old. Put her. I mean, I don't know, bro. I mean, it's not like the 4-month-old is gonna know that you're having alone time, adult time. But the deal being is, it's just horrible. Let me tell you a little bit more about it. So they got the charging documents, and CBS and the KU, the TV affiliate, report that Destiny told investigators her husband would seal the drawer shut with a towel to prevent the infant from kicking it open. And they reported the Harris County Medical Examiner's Office determined Brooklyn died from suffocation. Wow, that's just so bad. So following Brooklyn's death, per the Fox affiliate KRIV, Jeremy claimed he was at the store and came back to find the drawer shut, while Destiny said she was asleep and assumed the baby was with Jeremy. Now, the parents were also living with their 1-year-old son at the time. Where the fuck did you put him? Did you lock him in the bathroom so you can go bang bang? So a motel housekeeper took photos of Brooklyn in the drawer and said she alerted management. I don't get it. But, Jeremy's got an $850,000 bond, and Destiny is due in court on Monday, June the 23rd, this past Monday, and her bond had been set at $300,000. Isn't that fucking crazy?
Yes.
I understand people from all walks of life. The picture of mom. Yeah, your situation you're in, whether it's meth or you just can't afford or whatever, and at least you're putting a room over your kid's head and there's dad. But you got money to do meth, and you shut her in the drawer, seal it with a towel so you can't kick it open, and the baby suffocates. That's a fucked up family.
Thank you for that wonderful story.
I'm
going to be really primed and ready to go for the next story.
You're so welcome.
Pull it together very easily after that. I'm going to Missouri.
Missouri.
And a mayor has decided that he just wants to get some stuff from a dead man's property.
Okay.
So Adam Baguette is the mayor of St. Mary, which is a small town in Missouri, and he's facing charges with the connection of a skid steer.
Huh.
And you know how much skid steers cost.
Yep.
And I don't know how to describe a skid steer, so I'm going to just say what this says. It's a compact loader typically used for construction, landscaping, or farming.
They have different attachments that go on the front of them.
Yeah.
Some people call them skid steers or whatever, but you put forklift attachments on the front of them or box, like to scoop shit up or whatever.
Well, this one
they're not cheap.
Apparently valued at around $18,000.
Yeah.
And the machinery originally belonged to a man who passed away in March of 2025.
Okay.
So around 2 months after his death, his 2 adult children visited his property and discovered that the skid steer was missing.
I guess the mayor just figured nobody would care,
huh? According to a probable cause statement, Baguette, the mayor, instructed city employees to remove it, claiming it was obstructing city water lines. But investigators found no blockage.
Yeah, right.
He also claimed that he made efforts to notify the deceased family before moving the machine, but there's no proof that there was any type of notifications or any type of contact with family members at all.
Yeah, he's covering his ass.
So the skid steer, after the kids show up, realize it's missing. The skid steer was later located at a city-owned facility and promptly returned to the children. The mayor now faces charges of stealing and tampering with a motor vehicle. And he's not yet entered a plea.
Well,
probably thought that old man didn't have a family or something.
It's stupid. I mean, you're going to go to jail and lose your career and your history and everything for a skid steer.
Yeah.
And, well, I don't know. I didn't get it. It's time for beast mode. It's time for worldwide crime. So we got to double up for you today. Beast mode and worldwide crime, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to Rainham, Kent. And a dad picks up his kids from school. Well, they didn't pick them up. They walked. Evidently, they walked back and forth to school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he gets his kids, and one of them is a 3-year-old girl. So let me tell you what happened. According to the reports from the Daily Mail and Kent Online, the 3-year-old Bunny Skinley and her father, Rowan Skinley, and her 2 siblings were walking home on the afternoon of Tuesday, June the 17th in Rainham, Kent, when a dog suddenly bit Bunny on the arm, tearing her skin open.
Okay.
Now, I've been bitten by dogs. You've been bitten by dogs. It sucks. But as a 3-year-old, it must really suck. And as a father standing there watching, it really sucks, right? And it said the incident took place on the town's Mears Court Road, just outside an elementary school at around 3:30 p.m. local time. And I said it happened parallel to the school on the main road. This was Dad saying. And he said, I was just walking home after the school run, meaning picking up the kids. The path is quite narrow, and a woman was walking her dog on the actual road itself.
Okay.
All right. You would think I'm gonna do a big beast mode dog.
Oh my.
If you could see it on, y'all were showing it on YouTube. But I'll tell you in a second. He said, then out of nowhere, the dog just lunged for my daughter and pulled her to the floor. The owner managed to pull the dog off, but when she did that, it ripped Bunny's skin open. And Dad said he quickly sprang into action and held his daughter's skin in place to stop the bleeding as nearby witnesses approached to help. So he said people who saw what happened came over and said that my daughter hadn't even put her hand out to the dog. The woman did what?
Ran.
Yep. The woman just disappeared, and she didn't leave any details or anything. Now, according to the news outlets, witnesses reported the dog was a cockapoo.
Literally,
I mean, I don't know how much smaller you can get than a Chihuahua, but anyway, a cockapoo is a cross between a cocker spaniel and a poodle, and is usually considered to be a safe, friendly dog. But Bunny is now recovering after plastic surgery on her arm, which the procedure her father said was made even more risky due to the 3-year-old's lung condition and severe asthma. I know, right? He says she's doing well now. She's just a bit shaken and keeps talking about how scared she is of the dog. So, police told the local news that an investigation is underway. Of course, they're asking anyone with information about this incident to include those who may have CCTV or doorbell footage of the attack. It's crazy. I mean, look, if our dog bit somebody, especially a kid, then we're going to stay in and take ownership of it, right?
Absolutely.
But they said dog attacks have been a topic of discussion in the UK after the government banned a number of breeds in England and Wales, including XL bullies, pit bull terriers, Japanese Tosas, Doga Argentinas, and more, following a wave of dog attacks. And in December of 2023, a law was passed that made it illegal to breed, sell, abandon, give away, or knowingly let an XL bully stray in England or Wales without a certificate of exemption.
Mm-hmm.
As for Bunny's father, he's concerned that a cockapoo's owner walked away after the attack.
Yeah.
He said it's really upsetting that the woman didn't stop because it makes you fear for the safety of other kids. Well, let me do a little detective work for you. She's walking this dog down the middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
All right. They're going to get her fucking ass.
Yeah.
It's not the first time you walk the dog. It's not like we live in the country and we lock the dog outside to go potty. This lady's probably been following her dog with a pooper scooper and everything else. Somebody's seen her before.
Absolutely.
Somebody knows who she is, and I hope they sue the fuck out of her.
I do too, but it also goes to a point where you always, when you do a beast mode like this, you always say it's not about the breed. I'm not calling out the breed because it's a whatever. Not. This is a perfect example of that. How many cockapoos have you ever done a story about?
None.
Exactly.
And you're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And I can't believe she ran like a little bitch.
That's the worst kind, honestly. I know when I was bitten on my face, they were very concerned about what kind of food the dog that bit me ate, because apparently if they eat human table scraps or human food, they grow different types of bacteria, and they had to be very specific on the type of antibiotics that I got. So, it's important to know who bites you. I mean, if they're up to date on their vaccinations or their whatever you call them with their dogs. It's just gross negligence.
That woman's a bitch.
Well, she's a something. Well, I'm gonna go. This is about a teacher, but it's not a bad teacher. It's not what you're going to think. So when I mentioned that it's a teacher, but we're going to Texas, and this man named Russell Lay, who's 28 years old. He's a school teacher. And I don't know where we are in Texas. I just know Texas. But he recently lost his entire $32,000 life savings. He's 28 and he already has $32,000 saved up as a teacher. I think he's working really hard to save that money, They don't make a lot of money. It's paycheck to paycheck, So he lost $32,000 of his life savings in a very sophisticated scam. And he first spoke publicly about this on June 16th during an interview on WFAA. But he had just gotten married and was living a very frugal lifestyle. He avoided nights out. He skipped traveling to save money. And he was contacted by people pretending to be Chase Bank. Okay. This happened to someone else that like Andy Cohen, who's like the producer of all the Real Housewives stuff, and he has his own TV show that I watch, What Happens Live. And this happened to him too. The bank calls you, you think it's true, the real bank, and he just got into this. So I'm assuming that's kind of what happened here. So they convinced him that his account was at risk and instructed him to transfer the full 32,000. Like they knew specifics about his account, how much he had in there, and he believed that he was on a secure line and he was moving it to a secure account. The scammers used like realistic looking text messages, and they even had his real bank statements. Like he had asked for the proof and they gave him proof, which was false. Like it was faked, but they had it. So he transferred the full 32,000, and then he realized that it was fraud because he couldn't get access to that account, and he reached out to Chase, and Chase has only been able to recover $2,000 of that money. And they said that their policy on fraud only gives them that $2,000 protection. So it was a voluntary transfer, even though it was under deception, and it's not covered. So they gave him $2,000 back. And Chase clarified in their own statement saying fraud involves someone illegal accessing an account, while scams are deceptive schemes designed to trick individuals into authorizing transfers. Well, I mean, it's still a trick. So Leahy says that he feels like the wind has just been taken out from his sails, and he feels like this is the end of the world for him. And he hopes that sharing the story can prevent others from suffering a similar loss. And Chase maintains the section of their website that offers tips to recognize and respond to fraud and identify theft attempts. A lot of people are saying these days, don't do any banking on the phone, just go into the bank. But for us, like living where we live, going into the bank is a whole day event, right? So it's just easier to do things online. And you would hope that anyway.
Well, there you have it. And, beware of scams as always, right?
Yeah.
All right, rolling right along. And, like we're doing the hashtag justice for Bradley, and he's been missing almost 6 years. And of course, now they changed the story from a murder to, to whatever. We'll get to that in this week's episode. But, if you've been missing for 5 years as my spouse, I'd have a real issue with that.
You probably wouldn't.
No, I would.
I'm just teasing you.
So, well, there was a lady named, and I'll tell you about where we're at and everything in a minute, a lady named Suzanne Morphy. And she allegedly, and I'll use the word allegedly on this one, went for a bike ride on Mother's Day 5 years ago.
Okay.
But she never came back. All right. And her bike and helmet were later found in separate locations without significant damage. And this according to CNN and her husband, Barry. Now, Barry gets on social media and pleads and begs, please, if you know where Suzanne's at, or please, return her home. Well, like in the Scott Peterson thing, it comes out later on that the couple were allegedly having marital difficulties. And authorities even told Barry that Suzanne had been having an affair with an old high school classmate, to which he responded, maybe in God's eyes, this was his way of resolving something. Might throw a little red flag there, right? Well, it really did, because on May the 5th, 2021, Barry was arrested and charged with murder after deliberation, tampering with physical evidence, and attempting to influence a public servant in connection with his wife's death. And these quote-unquote records. Of course, Barry pled not guilty to the charges, and he got out on a $500,000 cash bond. It was released in September 2021. The charges were dropped. Yep, without prejudice in 2022. And a year later, Barry filed a $15 million suit against the agencies that arrested and detained him. But that lawsuit got dismissed in September 2024, and it's according to CBS News. So Barry is no angel. Barry was separately accused of voter fraud for submitting the presidential ballot in Suzanne's name. What a fucking
He cared
douchebag.
about that way too much.
He pled guilty and avoided jail time in accordance with his plea agreement. So after all this settles down, after all this turmoil, in September 2023, Suzanne's remains were finally found in Sagachi County, Colorado, nearly 50 miles away from her home. Plot thickens.
Mm-hmm.
Months later, in August of 2024, the El Paso County Coroner's Office released Suzanne's autopsy report, in which her death was ruled a homicide. Okay? Well, guess what? On June 20th, 2025, officials announced that a grand jury in Colorado had returned with an indictment against Barry and charged him with the murder of his wife.
Good.
That's according to ABC News. So I'm going to tell you about it real quick. Suzanne Morphy was born on April 30th, 1971, and she grew up in Alexandria, Indiana, and she has two siblings, a brother, Andrew, and a sister, Melinda. Now, Susan and her husband, Barry, met in Indiana and moved to Toledo, Colorado in 2018. They were married for 25 years and shared two grown daughters, Mallory and Macy. Said that family structure where the husband loves being the provider and the wife loves being the homemaker, they fit that to a T, according to their friend Jeff Isles. And Suzanne's case file listed her as 5'4" and 120 pounds, with blue eyes and brown hair. She had twice beaten cancer and was an avid mountain biker. Barry told authorities the night before Suzanne went missing, they ate steaks, had sex, and went to bed early. He said he last saw her asleep in bed at 5 a.m. the next day, and that he and his daughters had all texted Happy Mother's Day. She was gone the night before to Suzanne, but never received responses. Now, what mom ain't going to send a thank you? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you better be calling your mama, not just sending a text.
Yeah.
Well, around 2 p.m. on May the 9th, 2020, Suzanne sent her alleged boyfriend, Jeff Leibler, a selfie of herself sunbathing. This according to the 129-page arrest affidavit, but then didn't respond to his following text.
Oh.
So they got an FBI agent that's retired now, John Grusin. He testified in court that based on data from Barry's cell phone and truck, he came home at 2:44 p.m. that day. Now, the affidavit says that Barry admitted to running around their property with a gun and putting his phone in airplane mode at 2:47 p.m. How do you do
Why
that?
are you going to run around your property with a gun?
Are you putting your phone in airplane mode?
Well, that's true. Too.
Right?
Well, I have mine on airplane mode right now just for the world to know.
Yeah, well, that has nothing to do with this. But Barry told authorities, I'll put mine on airplane mode every time I take him out. Barry told authorities he was shooting chipmunks, but the FBI agent wrote an affidavit that he believed he was most likely chasing Suzanne around.
Gee.
So Barry's defense attorneys say that the data shows he was moving at 45 miles per hour and thus could not have been moving on foot and chasing his wife. And I'm sure at 45, he's driving below the speed limit with her dead body in the vehicle. But a neighbor reported Suzanne missing on May the 10th. So he didn't report her missing.
Mm-mm.
Law enforcement and Suzanne's brother, Andrew, led extensive searches but were unable to find her. Now, After Suzanne vanished, Barry posted that emotional video online pleading for her safe return, along with the FBI tip line number and the promise of a $200,000 reward. Well, guess what? He should have made it $20 million because he knew she wasn't coming home. And he's praying. Well, I mean, he gets convicted. The reward's no good, right? Investigators say that that morning, Barry made 5 trash runs during his work trip to Broomfield, Colorado. And they said that he threw away tranquilizer material during one of these runs. So maybe he tranked her before he killed her. I don't know. In August 2020, Barry told the local Fox 21 that he believed the sheriff's department mishandled the case and his wife's disappearance was the most devastating thing that has ever happened to me. Well, like I told you, in September 2023, they found Suzanne's remains 50 miles away from her house. After discovery, Barry issued a statement via his lawyer in which he said that he and his daughters were struggling with immense shock and grief and that they had faith that their wife and mom would walk back into their lives again. 3 years after? Yeah. In April of 2024, the El Paso coroner's office, I told you that, released a report saying that the death was a homicide. The autopsy reports say that Suzanne was killed by undetermined means in the setting of butyrophenol, azorpine, and metrodamine intoxication. So there must have been enough left for her to test her cells, right? But they added that there were no signs of trauma. And the report added that these drugs are marketed as a compounded immobilizer for wildlife. So it's like to tranquilize for a bear. Yeah. In other terms, an animal tranquilizer. Yeah. Now, per the Denver Gazette, Barry told investigators that he used the 3 drugs routinely to immobilize deer before removing their antlers. That's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard of.
And they fell for that?
Well, I mean, he had to explain why he had that shit. But one of Barry's lawyers said that the tranquilizer found in Suzanne's bones was very common. I never heard of it before in my 55 years. Barry's lawyers also told the outlet that a bullet in Suzanne's biking clothes were found with her remains, though it was not clear if the bullet had been used, and that her foot bones and shoes were not in the shallow grave.
Some weird stuff going on.
It's really fucking weird. According to the state of Colorado, Suzanne's homicide is an ongoing cold case. All right. On May 5th, 2021, nearly a year after Suzanne's disappearance, I told you that Barry was arrested for all that shit. And according to that criminal complaint, Barry allegedly killed Suzanne between May 9th and 10th, 2020. And at the time of his arrest, Suzanne was presumed dead, but of course, Barry denied it. Barry owned a landscaping business, and on the day his wife disappeared, he traveled to nearby Broomfield to work on a construction site. And the couple's daughters were away on a camping trip. So, but in the affidavit, which has been thrown out, and from September of 2021, investigators say that Barry tried to hunt and control Suzanne like he had hunted and controlled animals after she told him she wanted a divorce. Suzanne had accused her husband of having had affairs for years, and investigators learned that she had been having an affair with that former high school classmate I told you about. Suzanne's sister, Melinda, told the local Colorado radio station, Heart of the Rockies, that in May of 2021, her sibling had raised red flags about Barry. She definitely made implications that she had concerns about her safety, Melinda said. And the condition of the relationship had, I think, deteriorated quite a bit over the last several years. Well, prosecutors said that Suzanne texted her husband on May 6, 2020, telling him she was done and wanted to end the marriage. Probably one of the last ones she ever got. But in the affidavit, it says Suzanne is said to have taken clear steps in January 2020 in attempts to separate from and divorce Barry. Document also claimed that Barry tried to determine if Suzanne was having an affair by stalking her at their own residence, which was allegedly witnessed by one of her friends, and that he knowingly destroyed evidence that his relationship with Suzanne was to Terry. I guess he erased text messages. In August 2021, Chesapeake County Undersheriff Andy Rohich testified in a preliminary court hearing that when Barry returned to his house on May the 10th, he acted oddly. The sheriff said that Barry did not attempt to call her phone and was not asking any questions because he knew she was dead. Barry's lawyer disputed the description, saying the client followed the task as directed by law enforcement. I don't know what that means. But in that August preliminary hearing, Grusin testified that a dart gun, empty tranquilizer darts, and a needle used to inject tranquilizer into the darts were found in the home, as well as a tranquilizer cap, meaning one bottle was used, right? Mm-hmm. During a cross-examination by one of Barry's attorneys, Drew Nielsen, Grusin said no tranquilizer chemical had been found, and there was no way to know how long the cap had been in the dryer. I guess he forgot it. There's no such thing as a perfect crime scene, right? Right. One of Barry's attorneys later said that his client's dart gun was not working at the time of Suzanne's disappearance and claimed he did not have the tranquilizer using the darts for the gun. Prosecutors also said they found 3 unknown DNA samples on the glove compartment of Suzanne's Range Rover, or Suzanne, and one was a partial match to an unknown male connected to sexual assault cases in other states. Gosh. Right, and this is going to be a fucking, if it had the publicity, it'd be a Scott Peterson case. Barry's lawyer said that his DNA was not part of that sample. Well, and that's why in April 2022, authorities dropped the charges against him, as the Colorado Judicial Department told People magazine. And a judge granted a request by prosecutors to dismiss the charges without prejudice, which would allow prosecutors to file the charges against Barry again at a later date. So he's free. No, but hold on one second. Remember in the beginning, I told you he just got arrested. Yeah. But anyway, there's more to it. I know it's long, but it's a lot of crazy shit. So in May of 2022, Barry and Suzanne's daughters, Mallory and Macy, joined the father for an interview on Good Morning America. Oh, how sweet. Right? That was the first since the charges were dropped against Barry. They said, "It's been an emotional roller coaster, but we feel like we can finally take our first steps in healing, which is a blessing. We just know our dad better than anyone else, and we know he is not involved in our mom's disappearance." Then, on June 20th, 2025, a grand jury indicted Barry and charged him with Suzanne's murder, and according to the 12th Judicial DA's office, he was taken into custody in Arizona and will be extradited to San Luis Valley to face the charges. And according to the outlet, the DA attorney, Ann Kelly, released a statement saying, "Federal, state, and local law enforcement have never stopped working towards justice for Suzanne." She continued that the 12th Judicial District Attorney's Office stands in solidarity with Suzanne's family and the citizens of Chaffee and Sagacache counties in pursuing the grand jury's indictment. So, I mean, other than his voter fraud, but they must have some new evidence, right? Like I told you, he was convicted for the forgery. Why in the fuck would you file your wife's shit on the thing? That just doesn't make any sense. Zero sense. You know what he said? He said, just because I want Trump to win. Yeah. And anyway, to give him another vote, I figured all these other guys are cheating, and I know Suzanne was going to vote for Trump anyway. Yeah, So, of course, FBI agents told Barry, "Hey, that's illegal." And he's responded, "I didn't know you couldn't do that for your spouse." Barry is full of shit. Yeah. And I want to keep following this because I just gave you probably a 20-minute version. but it's very rare.
It's kind of a squash.
Yeah, well, you think so, but nobody in the world's going to believe this motherfucker had a dart gun to shoot deer so he can cut their horns off.
That makes zero
That's
sense.
way fucking more cruel than shooting one to eat it.
Yeah.
And this comes out after they find the tranquilizer shit in a loose cap in your dryer because you were washing the clothes you shot her with or whatever.
Yeah. Why can't you just wait for the shit?
Then they get the partial DNA from another sex offender on a Range Rover.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand.
Yeah, it's all, it's going to be all convoluted, and the district attorney's going to do what they do. The defense is going to do what they going to do. This isn't going to be the last we're going to hear about this. They've already been on Good Morning America and everything else. I look for this to take new twists and turns as it unfolds. And we will keep you updated right here on True Crime Time 4.
Well, that would be an interesting story.
Yeah,
to tell, like,
I think
in a
there'll be
series.
Yeah, we'll tell it on the series of this show as updates come out.
Okay.
Because Barry might be innocent, but it ain't looking good for homie.
No, yeah.
It isn't looking good at all.
No.
So there you have it. Well, I don't have anything else for this hot ass Wednesday. Do you?
Nope.
But y'all, we love you. Thank you. Hashtag Justice for Bradley. Please tag it everywhere. I'm Woody Overton.
I'm Cindy Overton.
Holler at y'all later. Peace.